Okay, welcome back. I'm sorry I had to cut the lecture short and kind of interrupt it last time, but we'll pick up with evidence of evolution. We were talking about biological evidence. We mentioned homologous structures, analogous structures, and we left off with vestigial structures. We looked at the example of the dew claw of the dog, wisdom teeth of people. Tailbone of people as well, and the pelvis of the whale. And you can see that little tiny, two little tiny pelvic bones here of the whale that are all that remains from the, the pelvis of whales' terrestrial ancestors. And so these are considered to be vestigial structures because this pelvis was once fully functional in the ancestor of the whale. And so typically in class what I like to do is I like to ask students if they know any examples of vestigial structures. And so that might be something that you want to think of by yourself. You can identify any vestigial structures in any organisms that you know of. So now we're going to look at some missing link fossils. So a missing link fossil is a fossil that represents an organism that is kind of bridging the gap from one major group of organisms to another. All right, and so we'll look at missing link fossils in vertebrate evolution. So organisms that span the gap from one major group of vertebrates to another. Here we see what is known as Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx name means ancient wing. And Archaeopteryx is thought to be one of the first known birds. Now, Archaeopteryx has a lot of features that you would associate with a modern-day bird, including wings with these flight feathers on them and a tail of feathers on them. But it also has features that you wouldn't associate with a bird, like digits on its wing, so these two other digits, and also a snout with teeth. And so those features would be more aligned with evolutionary trajectory that is diverging from reptiles, dinosaurs, and becoming birds. All right, and so here is the fossil, well known. There's a couple of fossils of Archaeopteryx, but the most famous fossil between dinosaurs and birds. So here is an illustration of a Velociraptor, so a well-known theropod dinosaur. Walks on two legs. It's a carnivorous dinosaur, and so besides its exterior features, it's what most people would expect from a dinosaur. So large claws on the forelimbs and hind limbs, with a long tail, moving on 2 feet with a snout full of very sharp teeth. But what you might not be as familiar with are all these feathers protruding from the Velociraptor. So the Velociraptor is another example of a reptile with bird-like features. It's not thought to have had flight feathers, but definitely downy feathers. And so here is a fossil of one of those theropod dinosaurs. You see its very long tail, and then here the spine continues up into the neck, and here's the skull. And you see the forelimbs and the hind limbs there. But if you look around the spine, you can see there's this little bit of like a haze. And if you zoom in, you can see those are actually fossilized quills from feathers. And so they're small quills, and so these quills were of downy feathers. And so this is evidence of the Velociraptor having downy feathers covering its body. And here is another image. This is the fossilized bone from the forearm or the forelimb of a Velociraptor, and if you zoom in on it in this area that's in the red rectangle, you can see that there are these little knobs on the bone. See one there, see another one there. What these knobs are quill knobs. The quill knobs are more pronounced in that of a turkey, who has much larger feathers protruding from its forelimb, and so it has larger quill knobs. So these quill knobs are where the feathers attach to the bone. And so we could see that little tiny downy feathers where they attached to the forelimb of the Velociraptor with these quill knobs. So, so this is another example of a feature that we commonly associate with one group of vertebrates, dinosaurs, being found on another. Commonly associate with one group of vertebrates, birds, being found on another group of vertebrates, dinosaurs, theropod dinosaurs. So here's another image of a Velociraptor. Here it's kind of harassing this Protoceratops, and you can see how it's covered with these feathers, as it's thought that a lot of theropod dinosaurs were. Now, this discovery of theropod dinosaurs being covered with downy feathers is relatively recent. Okay, and the fact that they have feathers lends a question of why. Well, if you have downy feathers, it's acting as an insulator, or if you're trying to insulate your body, that means that you're trying to keep heat in your body. And we know that the only organisms that try to keep heat in their body, have adaptations to do that, like hair, fur, or feathers, are warm-blooded. So it's thought that these theropod dinosaurs were in fact fully warm-blooded or quasi-warm-blooded, and that these feathers were an attempt to keep that heat in that you have to consume calories to produce. And so I like to say, if you are paying your own heating bill, in other words, if you have to eat food to heat your own body, you don't rely on the sun heating your body, then you don't want to leave the door hanging wide open and let all the heat out. You want to keep that heat that you're producing in, that you're paying for in, and so that's where the feathers come in. And so that concludes our lecture for evidence evolution with those couple of different examples of missing link fossils between dinosaurs and birds. And I'll see everyone next week in class, and thank you for bearing with me this week and viewing these lectures online.